Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today we're diving into a critical issue that affects every single South African, the collapse of budget discipline, the burden of rising taxes, and the deepening cracks within the government of national unity. As ordinary citizens, we are being squeezed dry by a state that's unable, or unwilling, to fix its priorities. While leaders argue and alliances shift, service delivery collapses, corruption thrives, and the average taxpayer is left to pick up the bill. Let's start with the basics. South Africa, under the Government of National Unity, or GNU, was supposed to usher in a new era of cooperation and progress. But what we're seeing instead is a fragile, directionless coalition where petty political battles are taking precedence over economic stability and governance. There is no functional national budget because the GNU is in such disarray. Factionalism, infighting, and ideological clashes are making it impossible for our government to deliver anything close to fiscal certainty or economic progress. And while the big shots in Parliament and Luthuli House fight over power, it's you and I who suffer. Service delivery is collapsing. Hospitals are underfunded and understaffed. Public schools lack the most basic resources. Roads are falling apart. And municipalities are teetering on the edge of financial ruin. The very core of government responsibilities, health, education, housing, water, is breaking down. Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana finds himself in an impossible position. On paper, he's supposed to manage the country's finances responsibly. But how can you plan a budget in a country where political decisions are delayed, disrupted, or overridden by party interests? How do you present a credible economic strategy when your government can't even agree on the basics? But let's be clear, the problem isn't just political indecisiveness. It's also the wasteful and often outright corrupt management of public funds. Billions are lost every year to inflated contracts, ghost workers, and tenders awarded to politically connected elites. Money meant to uplift the poor and deliver basic services is being funneled into the pockets of insiders, while the rest of the country suffers. And guess what? To make up for that missing money, the government turns to us, the taxpayers. When money is stolen, it doesn't disappear. It gets replaced by your higher VAT, fuel levies, sin taxes, and other deductions that slowly eat away at your income and purchasing power. Every corrupt deal or wasted project is a tax increase in disguise. Let's talk numbers for a second. Over our 150 billion is lost to corruption and irregular expenditure every single year. That's enough to fully fund a national housing program, fix public hospitals, or dramatically expand education infrastructure. Instead, this money is poured into failed SOEs, corrupt tenders, and endless bailouts. And still, the government insists there's no room to cut costs, only to raise taxes. But why should honest South Africans keep paying more, when those responsible for the losses face no consequences? This is what's driving growing public anger and disillusionment. When the same corrupt politicians keep returning to office, when commissions of inquiry lead to no arrests, and when the poorest communities are still waiting for taps, toilets, and tarred roads, it's clear that the system is not just broken. It's rigged. And this broken system is now threatening the very social contract between citizens and the state. In a healthy democracy, people pay taxes in exchange for public services. But in South Africa, we are paying taxes to fund a dysfunctional system that cannot deliver. That's not governance, that's extortion. Worse still, the country's ability to fix this is being undermined by the chaos within the GNU. It's not just about ANC corruption anymore, it's about the failure of this so-called unity government to govern. Different parties are pulling in different directions, priorities are misaligned, and nobody wants to take the political risk of telling hard truths or enforcing accountability. So instead, they pass the buck, and the bill, on to us. This is why South Africa is being called a budgetless state. Because without a coherent political plan, there can be no meaningful budget. And without a credible budget, there can be no investment, no growth, and no hope of rebuilding public trust. Our economy is being throttled by indecision and political cowardice. The result? More borrowing, higher debt service costs, and even less room to invest in growth or social protection. And as debt rises, credit ratings fall, investor confidence shrinks, and the currency weakens, which means everything, from fuel to food, becomes more expensive for ordinary people. It's a vicious cycle, and it's one we've been stuck in for far too long. So what can be done? First, we need to demand accountability, not just from individuals, but from the entire system. We need to insist that corrupt officials be prosecuted, that wasteful spending be ended, and that budget priorities shift toward basic service delivery and infrastructure, not bloated VIP protection units or luxury perks for politicians. Second, civil society, the media, and ordinary citizens must remain vigilant. Investigative journalism, whistleblower protection, and transparency in procurement are key tools in fighting back against the rot. The more we expose, the harder it becomes for corrupt networks to operate in the shadows. And third, we need to be brutally honest about the GNU itself. If this government cannot deliver unity, direction, and progress, then we must start asking whether it deserves to survive in its current form. South Africa cannot afford another 5 years of political theater while the country collapses. We need leadership, real leadership, that puts citizens first, not cadres, not coalitions, and certainly not corrupt cronies. If we fail to act now, the consequences will be devastating. We'll see more protests, more instability, more poverty, and an even deeper collapse of state institutions. And through it all, the tax burden will continue to rise, squeezing the middle class into extinction and trapping millions in permanent poverty. We cannot tax our way out of corruption. We must fix the system, or risk losing the country altogether. Thanks for watching. If you found this breakdown helpful, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below sharing your thoughts on the state of our economy and leadership. Your voice matters, and together, we can push for a better South Africa. See you next time.